morning. It is Friday, May 31st, 2024. This is Option Pit Live. I'm Mark Sebastian, your only option. I am joined by one, the Queen of the Candles, the Duchess of Doge, Leisha J. Leslie. Good morning, Leisha.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's Friday. It is raining cats and dogs here in Austin,
I know
Texas.
you've had some bad weather there in Texas.
Yeah,
Dallas, they've had a lot of power outage.
Yeah, we had I got woken up by thunder on like two separate occasions
Wow.
overnight. But the good news is I'm a champion sleeper. I went right back to bed. So it didn't really affect me. Now, here is what is important. PCE just hit. This is the inflation index preferred by the Fed, and it came in at plus 2.7% year over year, in line with expectations. Month over month, up 0.3, in line. Core PCE, 2.8, in line. Up 0.2, just slightly below the expectation of 0.3. So pretty much an in-line number for PCE, but this is a number that the Fed really does like. And so
Should be good
far,
news, right?
it's good news. We got a nice little pop on the futures out of that. Right now, they are up about 10 points. So call it a
Oh yeah.
10-point rally from the reaction.
We
Pretty
were down earlier.
Yeah, we were down. We're now positive on the day. We're seeing, some positive reaction to this PCE number. No shock, I suppose, because it was slightly in line or slightly better than in line, and that is what the people like. Other economic data that is hitting: personal income up 0.5% versus the expectation of or no, I'm sorry, personal income up 0.3, previous to 0.5, so that's below. Personal spending, now this is not great. Personal spending, previous month was 0.8, April was 0.4. So a pretty decent drop in income and spending out of the economic data. Not exactly great, but I think futures are looking at that PCE number and running with it. Pretty nice rally here. We're now up about 13 points in the S&P 500 after what has been a couple of back-to-back kind of not great days for the market. The close yesterday was pretty ugly. The previous day's close had been ugly. And now we get a positive number. What are you seeing in the charts here, Alicia? What are you seeing in the S&P 500?
Well, as I told everyone yesterday, that 52.45 was a place to watch the support, which had broken through and closed below there. Now coming back from down below, this 52.50 is where it lines up today, which completely makes sense. That nice rounded number always seems to be a support resistance magnet. Watch for 52.50. And if we can trade above there and bust through there, then this 52.61's back in play.
Yeah, it was. People think these even numbers don't matter. They do. S&P futures yesterday. They were basically at the end of the day they were acting as support. We kept bouncing off of 5250. Then we broke. The market flushed. At the end of the day, everyone saw that nice flush, and then they bought it back in the last couple of minutes and ran futures right back to 5250. Thus our close. Right. And now we're kind of slightly below that level. See, the S&P closed yesterday at
52.35.
Yeah, 52.35. So if we're up 14, that's putting us right at 52.50. So right back to that level. It's amazing how those even numbers act like magnets.
The opening will be curious to watch if it's going to roll over from there or blast through. Now, on the downside, yesterday's lows will be some nice support, which lines up with these over here. And then below there, it will come in around 5180, 5182.
Oh wow. All right. So if we break yesterday's lows, then there's potential for some real downside, is what you're telling us.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Now we're going to talk about this a little more, but there was a interesting, and I my personal feeling was this was not going to have an outcome on the market because it really doesn't matter. But Donald Trump found guilty on all 34 charges. Obviously, he'll appeal. But it is not having a real effect on the S&P, not really having much of an effect on general markets as a whole. And I can't wait to get to DJT when we dig in. Andrew and I have our little face off. But
Okay.
I think that this, people expecting this to have a greater, it's going to have an effect on DJT. But people expecting this to have a profound effect on the overall market, I think, are mistaken. It really, the only way, if Trump goes to it, if Trump gets sentenced to prison, and he'll appeal, the process will take us through the presidential election, and the only way he's going to jail is if he loses that election. And I don't know and then maybe you've got something. I don't know, but I don't think that you're going to see very much out of the S&P based on that. I think this PCE data is kind of more important. The other thing that's really important to me is this AI interest rate play. That's really what's driven the market up all year, is the belief that interest rates would pull back and the AI stocks carrying the market's water. Interest rates look like they're not in a great spot. I think that there's a real chance that you know bonds could continue to soften up with and this is not political. There is a lot of supply of bonds on a weekly basis on top of what's already being done, and the Federal Reserve not buying bonds. That is creating, I think, some downside pressure on bonds themselves, which causes interest rates to go higher. What do you see in the charts, Leisha?
I think you're right. The charts will agree with you. We're getting a little pop today after a nice green bullish candle bouncing off the median line and the 10-year. But we
Mm-hmm.
do have this downtrend line that's been in place since February 1st. That's been holding, except for there. But yeah, today's highs right now are running into resistance there. That median line, maybe they bounce up and TLT also higher here.
TLT looks like
Maybe
it
they
might
get a
have
little
some room
pop.
to that trend line.
Yeah,
All right.
91 on TLT.
Yeah, folks in the audience, what do you think? I'd love your opinion. Keeping it apolitical, apolitical. So I don't want to hear any. Nobody wants to hear, you know, this person stinks or this person stinks. What we do want to hear is, am I wrong? Do you think that the verdict yesterday has an effect on the overall stock market? And if so, what is that effect? Um, and so you've got the bonds, I think, in a general downtrend, but maybe prime for a little bit of a rally here off PCE. And then the other piece is that AI stopped carrying the market's water. Nvidia had this booming rally, and the market is down over the last couple of weeks, despite the kind of Nvidia pop. And what do I mean by that? is if you look at, over the last, let me type in SPY here. If you look at kind of the last month, Nvidia's up 28%. The market is up 4. And then over the last 10 days, the market, Nvidia is up 18%, and the market is down 1.3% in the last 10 days. So if Nvidia had not rallied this strong, the market would be in, we'd be talking about how low is the market going to go? We would be, but I don't know. What are you seeing in Nvidia, Leisha?
Nvidia has held its gap, its breakaway gap after earnings. It tested the low yesterday, and now today it looks like it's up $24.
Yes, it
So yeah,
is.
these previous highs, 1156, will be the resistance, but this is a nice bullish pattern, nice bullish chart. 1200's in the cards, it looks like. Well, the
1200.
split's coming probably before that.
This, yeah. We're gonna talk a little bit about splits, but that Nvidia is going to split, I believe, next Friday after the close. So it'll begin trading regular on its new price next week. So don't worry. So at Option Pit next Wednesday, we're going to be doing a special class on splits and reverse splits because we know a lot of people are watching this. Information forthcoming. Make sure to check that out. And then we'll also spend a brief little couple minutes talking about it next Friday so that you folks are prepared. But if you want to dive in and really be ready to trade this thing on Monday, along with a couple other really interesting reverse splits that are coming our way, check out Option Pit and check out our emails. And, we're going to have a class for you guys coming up on Wednesday. All right. So, we've looked at S&P, we've looked at bonds, we've looked at Nvidia. Did you want to look at the Qs, Leisha? Did you have any
Sure.
other charts that you wanted to look at?
Yes. Now the Qs had a pretty ugly day yesterday, and they closed below support. Looking lower, right? Like your next support level comes in down here, 447. Watch for Qs to revisit this support, now new resistance level, 453.25. Watch what they do when they hit that, just like the SPX. Watch what it does when it comes back. A lot of times it'll come back, kiss that support, resist old support, now new resistance, and then continue lower. So those are some key levels that we have to watch today. We may blow through them and continue our rally. It may be your opportunity to go short. Watch your intraday 5-minute and 15-minute charts.
Yeah, it's interesting. On the news this morning, SPY is up more than the Q. The ES futures are rallying more than the Nasdaq 100 futures, which is a little bit surprising. But we did have a few earnings that we'll hit on here in a second that I want to discuss with everybody. Did you have any more charts that you wanted to hit on, crypto or anything along those lines, or do you want to jump into the news?
I Bitcoin real fast. It's up against a little resistance, but I think it's gearing up to take another leg higher.
Okay.
It is against resistance here, though. That's about all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's ready to. It's consolidating here. I think it's ready to take its next leg higher.
Now, when you say consolidating,
that's it.
When you say consolidating, what you mean is what do you
It's just in a very
not
tight
everybody knows what
trading
you mean when you
range.
say it's in a trading range.
Consolidation is a very tight trading range, and right now it's around this support resistance 68,722, And while a stock is consolidating or crypto, whatever you're watching, you want to stay out of options because your options decay, right? And this can consolidate for as long as it wants. We've seen consolidations happen, go on and on for, months. But once you see it break away and reveal itself, it's going to bust out higher or trade lower. That's when you wait and hop in. So consolidation is just a tight range. The Japanese call it a box range.
All right, but once it breaks out of the box, jump in.
That's when you hop in. It's generally a good trading opportunity.
All right, it's like the old giant birthday cake with me popping out of it, or hey, so
I'm not sure whose birthday that would be for.
that would be for my own birthday. I would jump out of my own cake.
Exactly.
Happy birthday to me. All right, let's bring in one Andrew T. Giovinazzi and delve a little further here on a few things. Hey, good morning, Andrew.
Good morning. Good morning.
Andrew.
How are you guys doing?
Great. You're looking sharp as usual.
Well, I try to clean up a little bit.
Wow, you clean up nice.
Summertime,
sure Courtney appreciates it.
Summertime.
Well, yeah, nobody wants a beard in the summer, right? It's just hot and sweaty.
It is hot, and we actually have very nice weather right now. So,
yeah.
And my son started the season off catching a huge fish. So,
great. Nothing. That's exciting. Like fishing. That's exciting.
That was a beautiful fish, Andrew.
It was. It will be fish tacos this evening. So
that's nice.
A good, yeah.
Yep. Dude, it took over like a whole chunk of the refrigerator, man. It was substantial. I kind of want to grill it and do some kind of Vietnamese thing, but anyway, never mind. I'm digressing.
There you have it, folks. Andrew's Fresh Fish Recipes, our new segment. So Andrew, I do want to circle back to the bond market, but I want to start with these earnings that are hitting, because there are, we're at the end of earnings season, but there are still some pretty strong, important earnings that have come out over the last couple of days, right? The biggest one after the market was Dell Technologies. Dell has been on such a tear.
Yep.
But pre-market, it's down 16%.
It was like, I think because that was all the magic AI pixie dust that was sprinkled, right?
Yes.
Michael Dell and Jensen Wang, they're talking that Dell computers are gonna, power all that stuff. And then I didn't see the number, but I guess the number was kind of underwhelming. I guess they haven't quite got to the point where they're powering every, data server in the world or something like that yet. So
yeah. And Leisha, I don't know if you can overlay different charts against each other, but Dell is down 16%. Yeah. Did you see HPQ yesterday? The most boring dead computer stock in the world. They reported the previous day, and HPQ rallied, had a massive rally.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I actually was looking at Dell versus HPQ, and you could make a strong argument that this is an interesting stock to potentially buy. I'd want to wait a day or two after a gap like that. Alicia, how do you this is a great question from me. And Andrew, feel free to chime in as well. But folks, do you ever, like, after a stock's gaps, are you ever wondering, like, well, what do I do now if you're not in it, and or if you're in it? Alicia, how do you treat gaps? Like, that's a gap. That's a
I like to wait. Now this
that's a gap.
well, actually, your gap isn't as big as it looks. Your gap's right here, right? And then it just rallied.
Mhm.
So someone needed to
massive
get long
candle.
there.
Okay.
Right? Am I
Yeah.
wrong, guys? That's exactly what this says. The dealer
Yeah.
was short. Someone was short. They had to get long and then let it take off. So your gap isn't really that big. I'm not wrong, am
So
I?
they held it down as much as they could, bought as much as they
Right.
could on the open, and then
And
let
they're
the
like,
stock
dude,
run.
you got to pay a few bucks. We can't open it on.
Yeah. You'll make your
Right?
money later.
We can't be so obvious. I'm not. Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, you're 100% right.
No, I remember back calling like a specialist, like yelling at him why he opened the stock like that and hosed us.
It
You
was
know?
always so obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, talking to a specialist in the 90s on the New York Stock Exchange was they could have
Anyway, when
given
the stock.
two craps about anybody on the planet at that point.
Oh, right. They could do whatever they wanted.
Yep.
When it does gap away, though, you want to see this. Like I said, looks like a common gap in a stock like this, but actually, it's only $38. So I guess it is a pretty good gap. But
Yeah.
you wanted to maintain that area that it gapped up to. Now, in this case, you probably wanted to maintain up here, right? This is pretty good range, and you want to let it pan out in it for 2 or 3 days before hopping in. And generally, if it stays in that area, it will go higher. Look
So
at that volume.
if it runs higher and then kind of consolidates, the word we learned today, consolidates for a couple of days. That's a good idea to go long.
Yes.
All right.
Exactly.
I like that.
All right.
But
So
that's also kind of, an old school company, right? I mean,
yes.
and I also noticed Best Buy was up quite a few bucks, BBY, the other day, yesterday as well on earnings. Like, I mean,
Wow.
these are better, like I would say kind of more bullish. I noticed a lot of strength in stocks that weren't Q yesterday. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but the Q stocks are kind of getting smacked, the big ones. And some money was rotating into other names. And I think some of this, I'm just going to call it sort of old economy. I mean, computers, I guess, are now old economy relative to AI. And Best Buy, buying some, consumer electronics and stuff. I mean, I thought that kind of maybe gave the market a little lift on some of those earnings numbers, but Dell, I don't know why it sell off. I guess they just, it had run so far so fast from $50 a year ago or something. So, maybe a little profit taking, but I thought that was kind of interesting. That sort of old, more Main Street type stocks kind of lit it up a little bit. Maybe we see that in the SPY today. But I found that it's okay for some of the big Q stocks to sell off and money go to other places. I mean, they've been running for 2 straight years, basically.
Well, just to put things in perspective, on a 2-year chart, Dell is up 240%. HPQ is down 1.25%, even with that nice move the other day. So, just I'm going to be exploring whether there's an opportunity there in HPQ over the next day or two. I may be pinging you guys on that one. All right, so there's that one. Next up on the earnings front is Marvell. And this is not the comic book company. This has nothing to do with Wolverine versus Deadpool. But this stock has earnings. Pre-market, it doesn't. The earnings were after the bell, and pre-market doesn't look like it's doing a lot. Closed yesterday 76.85. It's down about 50 cents. The earnings were, I believe, the earnings were great. They crushed earnings, and the stock is getting absolutely no love here. What's your take on that? Crush Marvell, a chip stock, crushes earnings. What is your guys' take on that, folks? Marvell crushes earnings, no love. Nvidia crushes earnings to the moon. What is your guys' take?
Again,
what is your guys' take?
Again, it looks to me like someone got caught short
Alicia, you came in and out there a little bit. I think the weather is affecting your feed. Um,
I was going to say, again, someone may be caught short here. I think it's bull flagging, it looks bullish, but we'll have to see what it does today.
all right. So this could be a fun one if it starts. So from your perspective, if Marvell starts to rally on the open, it might be one to jump on because they're holding it down so they can get long, is what you're implying.
I think that's what she was implying. Yes.
It's an ongoing
that is what I
theme
inferred.
here.
We got a couple of themes for the show today. It's consolidation and specialists getting caught short.
How the special screws people on the open.
Yes. All right. Last but not least, I do want to touch on probably the biggest one for the week that, we saw this one yesterday, CRM, just a incredible move out of CRM, lower. And that does not bode well. And we saw some continued bearish paper in CRM. It does not. That was some really poor. They really didn't like those earnings.
Well, a company like that, and they're not benefiting from AI and stuff like that, that's not good, right? You would think some of what are they, Salesforce, they do that, customer relationship management software.
Yes.
I mean, we don't use it, right?
No.
But you would think AI would be a big boon, right, to that business. And they kind of, they didn't say AI enough in their earnings release, I guess. But this software company should benefit, and it doesn't look like it is.
Well, I mean, maybe they're pulling kind of an apple. They're caught a little flat-footed. Sometimes it's easy to get fat for when a company's that far ahead of their competitors. It can be easy to get fat and lazy. And
I'll think
maybe
about
CRM
Sears.
got a little bit of that.
Sears with a catalog before Amazon. All they had to do was stick it online. I mean, how hard was that? And they didn't do it. They let Amazon just run for years.
Sears is one of the worst managers. If you want to hear tales of terrible management, Sears. They sold their credit card business, obviously most profitable part of the business. Dumped the catalog right before everybody went online and started shopping online. Just some of the dumbest management in history. And I think Target is going down that route. Now, Target looks like it's the new Sears. I mean, this is a company that was booming over Walmart and looks like they got a little fat and lazy. And I think Target is gonna be Sears in 10 years. This is not a company I would want to own long term.
I agree, because their whole gig is kind of lost, I think.
Eddie Lampert, Ken Stein says Eddie Lampert killed Sears. No. Sears was already dying. Eddie Lampert put it out of its misery and milked it for every dollar he could. That is what happened. All right. Eddie Lampert saw a dying cash cow and said, I'm going to milk this thing completely dry and then I'm going to shoot it. And that's what he did. Is that overly graphic?
I don't know. I mean, a little bit of graphic, but not too bad. Not too bad.
What are you seeing here, Alicia, on Target? I know me mentioning I got you. I can see you playing around.
I don't know. I got to work this.
All right. Now, and this
up against resistance on yesterday's high.
Up against resistance on yesterday's high. All right. I think that the long-term trend here is not good. They're so flat. They're so behind on Amazon.
And then come back.
May close the gap and come back. All right. They're just so far behind Walmart and Amazon. All right, and this leads us to DJT. This is where Alicia becomes judge, jury, and executioner. And Andrew and I discuss the merits of a stock. Andrew, I will give you pride of place. Would you like to go bullish or bearish?
Oh, geez. It's just such a squeeze. I feel like being bullish is the easy direction in all this. So I'll go bullish on it.
All right. Then have at it. I will respond.
Well, looking at this chart again, there's no revenue here, almost no revenue. So I think a lot of the action is squeezed from a market point of view. It's all mechanics. That generally lends to stocks going higher in the short term. And now with this trial, there's only more publicity. Plus, you have publicity to July. I mean, if I had to guess, probably the top will be the sentencing in July, I guess. Looking at trading it that way, but I mean, right now it's just such a huge bubble. It's hard to, but it is like hard to borrow, and the hard to borrow just squeezes things higher. Even today, it's up what, $3, $3.50 on the open. So
yeah, it was down on the news, and then they rallied it. I thought there would be a trading opportunity here on the sale. I didn't expect it to move this quickly. Near term, obviously you're getting a squeeze. Then as soon as the squeeze ends, which should be a couple of days, it becomes an interesting short. Long term, as Andrew stated, this company doesn't make any money. This is not a company to invest in. You are basically, if you're buying DJT, you're basically flipping a coin and saying, I'm going to either double my money or it's going completely to zero, because you're 100% banking on Donald Trump winning the presidency. If Donald Trump loses, your money goes to borderline zero. This company will just go completely bust.
Yeah.
I don't think the sentencing in July, I don't know if that's going to even happen because of the appeals process. Or if it is, the appeals process is going to delay that for who knows how long. Again, Donald Trump, the only way he's going to jail is if he doesn't win the presidency. Let's just put it that way.
Well, don't appeals take forever too, though?
They do. And that's the whole point, is that if during the appeal, he will be granted bond. And I mean, if he's not, I mean, now, if you want to see the markets actually sell off, imagine if he gets a guilty verdict, and that if they sentence him and then don't grant him bond while he's appealing, that would be where maybe things get ugly. Because there will be riots. I don't know if there'll be riots, but there will be massive protests. I would say
could get a move.
You could get a move on something like that. That would be problematic. I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, that'd be ridiculous. But leading into this, you're basically just betting that Donald Trump's going to win the presidency. There's some real brand value if he does. And but even if there is, this is probably not a $9 billion company. But what you could see is Donald Trump wins the presidency. They actually start making some revenue, and then they just remerge with Twitter or something like that.
Yeah, or one of those other, like Rumble or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Could be interesting. Speaking of interesting, you know what's before we dig in, Leisha, last week you were looking at Ford. Oh, Leisha, what's your verdict on DJT? I apologize.
That's okay. Whomever bought it this morning or last night, down $3 is up $6. So that's nice. These previous highs here will be resistance at 56.5, and it busts up above, trades above there. It looks like 63 is in the cards. On the downside, your previous lows 42.43 will be support, and below there 38.60. So it is higher, but there is some resistance just above.
All right. So, if it breaks
out above there, though, if it breaks out above those highs, it has an 80% chance of trading 63.20.
Ooh. All right. Short-term potential bull out of Leisha Leslie. Speaking of Leisha Leslie, last week we looked at Ford from you. Did any update there, and any other stocks that
Ford
you're
failed.
watching?
Yeah, we need Ford to
Ford
get
failed
going.
to hold the support level that it held for so long. Yeah, it's wallowing. It may be, there's a nice little doji day before yesterday. This 12 is going to be resistance. It's going to be powerful resistance. It may be an opportunity to go short it down to 10 3/4. It failed, but this
Cannot
could
get
be a
off
little
the.
bear trap. This could become a little bear trap, and it could rally above 12. So 12 is the key level to watch.
All right. Any other stocks that you're fooling around with this week?
I'm, as everyone should know, I'm bullish Alcoa to 50, and it's looking great, and I still believe it's going to 50.
I love it. I'm going to keep an eye on that one.
And I called it way back here.
Last week we looked at.
So
I looked at
looking good
Triple
to
M.
50.
Looking good at 50. I like it. Last week I looked at Triple M. I finally put a leg out and bought calls yesterday. And I'm looking for this one to move higher. It's got to break through that median line there, though, right?
We got a little lift in it this morning,
but you
Mark.
do have a nice little hammer.
All right. Then the other name that I'm kind of keeping an eye on to add along is, I think J&J is probably a little overdone at this down here.
I agree with you. It traded down to support yesterday, I believe, and bounced. So let's take a look. I don't have a very good connection here. I think that's why I'm so slow. Yes, nice bounce off support with an inverted hammer. I think you're right. I think 151.70 could be in the cards there. I like that, Mark.
Oh, thank you. You know what? You know what I like, Leisha, is when Andrew pulls up to my house.
I have an idea.
It's when Andrew pulls up to my house in his fancy Lexus and says, "Mark, how about you come for a ride on Andrew's trading vehicle?" This is where Andrew
never should have said anything. Can't believe.
Must be nice. This is where Andrew is going to walk us through how he looks at trading strategies and makes money with a particular by deciding particular trading approaches. And while he's doing that, Leisha and I get to go refresh our coffee. So take it away, Andrew.
Let's see, Lewis, can you share? Did you get that slide I sent you? If not, you can share. Oh, there you go. Okay. So he did. Look at that. So this is Robinhood. I've been using this as like a passive long Bitcoin thing. It seems that Robinhood's been doing pretty well, riding the Bitcoin train somehow. And also they are aggressively becoming a financial company. They are filing to sell futures and future options. Again, and they're looking for expertise in those areas to help them run some desks and stuff like that. But Robinhood's growing. They're making money now. Anyway, I'm long this one. I've been long it for a while. Long calls, long stock. However, right now, if you're looking at it right now, I found some curious stuff. So it's at a 2-year high currently, but I want you to notice something called skew. If you look there in Robinhood, in the option chain, you're going to notice the July 19 series. Now, if you look at the money right around the July 22s, the volatility strike is 65.52. As you go up in strike, the volatilities per strike are rising. And normally, like, that is more indicative of a breakout, more indicative of paper buying options. You notice the July 25s are, I believe, a fairly large buyer of those options. I'm I'm into call spreads as well. I spread off some of my 20s that I own by selling 25s. I think 25 by June is a pretty reasonable spot. And I'll probably roll all that up if it, because at this point it's kind of house money for me on my call spreads. Because I sold my upside call for what I paid for my lower call, and see if we can just ride it here a little bit more. But I mean, I like this stock to go to 30, $35 by the end of the year. They're aggressively growing, and paper is pushing the skew up. So I think a very cost-effective way to get long this thing is via call spread. Go July, August, October. Like I said, I'm already in this thing. But the call spreads are cheap. I mean, you can buy like 2027 call spreads for a little over $1 in July. Very, very low cost. And if you want, you could write a put against if the stock pulls back to get into the name at a lower price if you so choose. But when you see call skew like this, it's generally paper is like buying calls, buying upside calls, looking for more upside move. So more kind of parabolic explosive moves. So looking at the call skew and the volatilities that I'm showing on the screen there, if you see that increasing call skew, the last time we saw it, in AMC or in GameStop, when I had all that crazy paper flying all over the place, then, well, actually all the volatility just went to 1,000. But in here, you actually have some skew. So the liquidity provider, clearly they're happy to buy at the money and sell upside till the cows come home. So, and I also think this is a potential takeover target for some of the larger, like a Morgan Stanley or something like that, to kind of get that millennial investor. But anyway, I think it's now that the company has got through a lot of its procedural and management issues, the growth. But I think the skew is steep on the upside. Generally, that's a stock going up. And that is Andrew's vehicle for the week.
Thank you for the ride. What do you guys think? Do you like Andrew's idea of long Robinhood? I don't hate it. I think that the takeover target is interesting. I've said that a couple of times. I know that I don't know if they would ever get through regulatory, but Citadel would buy them in a second if the regulators ever let them.
Yeah, he could just sell one of his houses.
Yeah, Andrew is in the hood. How about you, Dave? How about you, Ken? How about you, audience? Are you guys fans of Robinhood? I don't hate it. A little update. We've been talking for a couple weeks about the gamma bomb and the potential there, and I continue to see some real potential for an ugly day forming. Volume in 0DTE options continues to increase. Futures are actually getting less liquid. So the gamma bomb is a combination of S&P futures, 0DTE options, and low implied volatility. And what do we have? We have low volatility. We have liquidity starting to dry up in the futures, and we have increasing volume in 0DTE. It's great for the brokers, great for SIBO, but I think it sets us up for a potential one-day really, really nasty move. This is something we've been talking about. If you have not been paying attention to us at Option Pit, you should be. We've been writing about it, talking about it. Go check out our blogs, optionpit.com, and you can read what Andrew puts out and what Leisha puts out. Her options, her profits and pumps is one of her ideas that she puts out every week are spectacular, and it's completely free.
Thank you.
I'm putting out some video content along with, we love what we do here at Tradier. This is absolutely amazing. You can catch us on Twitter. But this is something we've been talking about and you need to be paying attention to. So if you're not, go to optionpit.com, click on our different newsletters and subscribe, and you will become more and more educated. Dave says Robinhood is okay. I don't use it myself. Andrew, do you have a Robinhood account?
No.
Leisha?
Nope. It does look like it's breaking out though.
Okay.
Ooh,
All
I
right.
like
There you
that.
go.
I
But
like the
do
Leisha
your kid?
breakout.
How about any of your kids? I know Lauren has. My wife has a Robinhood account. She bought Novo Nordisk for like $90 pre-split. Just an incredible investor. My wife is.
She picked a good one.
She did. All right. So I just want to give everyone a brief update. All right. As we're heading into the open, S&P futures are still up about 13. NASDAQ futures are up about 20. So NASDAQ futures are up about 0.1%. S&P futures are up about 0.25%. What's your take on the market for the day? ATG.
I mean, at the rate we're going, I think maybe we rally and kind of recapture the sell-off yesterday at this point. I don't think it's a huge day. It's more of like a relief on the inflation at this point. I think you're right about the rates. The auctions have been giving the market a little more spook than they have in the short term. But I would guess we probably sit here. Maybe VIX gets close to right around 13. Because at this point, I mean, we got that pop in volatility, right? Over, maybe it was around the trial, maybe not. But now if we're not going to rally, there's no upside catalyst. Like, how does VIX stay where it is right now? So I would see a little lower VIX and, maybe up 0.5% on the day.
Leisha, what's your take on the market? By the way, Ken Stein says, nice win on Merck, Leisha.
Oh, yeah.
Great, Ken. Good job. It was quick, but I think it could still go 122. We'll see today. Like I said, 52.45, watch that area. And then if we, 52.61, that is definitely a major league resistance. So that could set the precedent for next week, what we do when we reach 52.61. It could be another idea of, people needed to get long. If PCE, if I recall, moves the market pretty well. So maybe it's another thing of people got caught short. We got to open it a little bit and then take it higher.
Right now we are trading right at your initial resistance line at 52.45, and we're going to open right around there if futures stay where they are. My take, I don't know. I think they're going to fade it. I think we're going to open up. We might even hit your 52.61, but this feels like another one of those days where we try and kind of rally and then kind of fizzle out as the day progresses. I don't know that we're going to have another, we're talking about the sell-off and it's a massive, 60 points or 80 points, so less than 1%. I would not be surprised to see us test 5,200 before the market decides what it wants to do. I don't know if we're going to do that today, but wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit of selling into the weekend. All right. Well, folks, there is kind of what our market outlooks are. Let us know what your outlook is. But we are running up against it. We're actually running long. And so we will bid you adieu. So for Andrew T. Giovinazzi, the Viking of volatility, the vicar of the VIX, and Leisha J. Leslie, the Queen of the Candles, I'm Mark S. Sebastian, your only option. I hope you have a great trading day and a wonderful weekend.
Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
TGIF.
All opinions expressed by Tradier Hub contributors are solely the contributors' opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Tradier nor its affiliates and or subsidiaries. You should not treat any opinion expressed by Hub contributors as a specific inducement to make a particular investment or to follow a particular strategy, but only as an expression of their opinion. The contributors' opinions are based on their own personal research, but neither Tradier nor its affiliates and or subsidiaries warrants its completeness or accuracy. and it should not be relied upon as such. Any trades or positions discussed or referred to by contributors may or may not be actual live trades or positions. Such information is not intended to be financial or investment advice. Tradier Inc. is the parent company of Tradier Brokerage Inc. Tradier Brokerage Inc. and Tradier Inc. are separate entities with their own products and services. Securities products and services are offered through Tradier Brokerage Inc. Tradier Brokerage Inc. is an independent subsidiary of Tradier Inc., all rights reserved, member FINRA SIPC.